Hello and welcome to another Reaper blog video. Today we're checking out PRISM from AVA Music Group. This is actually the second KONTAKT library from them. The first one was Instinct, and there's a review that you can check out. There's a link in the description. So this is a drum sample pack, and inside of KONTAKT you have this really awesome triangular selection to choose different kick, hat, snare, and claps that all work together. So there's basically 10 presets here. All of these drum sounds are proven. They've been used in trailer music. AVA makes a lot of stock library sorts of music, and these sounds have been used in trailers like Shazam and the Lego Movie 2. So rather than giving us hundreds of kicks and snares that we all have to go through, they just focus on 10 that work really well together. There are actually more sounds in the full download, but the KONTAKT instrument itself focuses on these 10 that work together. So in addition to the center dial with those 10 preset kits, there is also volume control, transient, master, EQ, and reverb for each of the kit pieces. The snare and the claps, they're most often blended together, so they do actually share controls there. If we look down in KONTAKT's keyboard view, you can see that we actually only have 4 notes that are assigned. So we got kick, we have clap, we have snare, and we have hats. So that's kit number 2, and they're all very different. Let me go through 5 different demo songs that I've created over the course of like 2 days or so, using PRISM as the drum sounds and using a lot of samples from this pack, and then some other free synths like Tyrell and PG8X. All right, here we go. So for drum processing, that's all just what you get inside of the instrument. There's a little bit of reverb on the hi-hat and on the snare and claps. Pretty much it's just what you get. So this next one has loops. There's like a bottle loop, I think it's called. Yeah, bottle loop. There's some different tom samples and crashes and things like that. So this is probably my favorite of these demos. And if you're wondering, that glitch loop is actually Thorn CM. That's a plugin you can get from Computer Music Magazine. Really cool stuff. Okay, so number 3. So there, I've actually mixed 2 different kits. And that was actually accidental because I redid the snare or the hi-hat and the kick in this section and didn't realize that I had not changed the MIDI channel. I mean, it still worked pretty well. So there's an example of, if you don't want to edit the KONTAKT library, you can just put in another instance. It uses a tiny amount of memory, like 4.25 megabytes. So it's super small library. Don't have to worry about overloading your system running as many of these as you want. So that was a mix of kit number 2 and kit number 3. Yeah. I think the next one uses kit 4. The only thing I added to the drums there was a delay in parallel, and that's just replica from Native Instruments, doing an eighth note, lots of feedback and stuff like that. So that's just automated to come on for that song and off for everywhere else. And the last track is like this. All right, so let's go through these different kits using this loop. So we've heard kit number 2 already in a couple of these songs. Let's go to number 1. Here's number 3. A wide variety of different sounds there, but they all work together and they can all be really inspiring for making, different types of tracks. So my personal style is to go for like retro wave, synth wave type sounds when I'm making demos if I'm not playing guitar. So even though that these are made for modern pop, I find that they work pretty well. I did like number 7 quite a lot. I really like that long tail on the snare. I should point out that we can actually change the kits here using the assign mode. So I can just grab number 2 and like drag it over here. And now number 8 is there and number 2 is there, and I'll just swap those. So here's how that combination sounds. So you can completely rearrange those however you like. So let's look at what else you get in this pack, because you actually get quite a few other things. I'm going to do it from the Media Explorer. So if we go to the official demos, we can hear different loops that they've made, different tempos, different styles. There's the kick pack, which is a lot more than 10, actually. We've got toms. I used some of the toms in the second loop. But there's some cool sounds here. I actually have tempo match on, so they're a little bit warbled, but you get the idea. Big sounds. Snares, there's a lot more than 10 snares there. These are labeled with the same names as the ones in the demos. Actually, you can see some that are not quite the same, actually. So here's the Shazam snare. And there's vintage snare. And those weren't in the demos. Then there's claps. There's hats. A lot of hats. So all these one-shots were used to create some of those loops. We got cymbal sounds. Got different effects like subhits. Various production elements that just help you enhance your song. Various drum loops. Hat loops. I like that one quite a lot. And then in the KONTAKT source, these are all the samples that are used inside of the KONTAKT library. So what are the pros and cons of this? Why would you buy it? For one, it is simple to use. You have 10 kicks, 10 hats, claps, and snares. You know that they're all going to work well together, and you can just quickly find a kit and get writing. You don't have to go to your sample library, look in your kick folder, find a kick, and then go to your snare folder and find a snare, and then not have them all work together. It can be really disjointed to go grab all these things from different libraries. So because these are all made together, because they're all kind of pre-mixed, you can just kind of get started and focus on making music. Besides that, this interface is very cool. If you don't have any idea, you can kind of just spin the wheel and pick something and it will work. And then there's all the different loops and extra samples that can help you enhance your sound, get you a starting point. Whether you use them or not, that groove that you get from the drum loop or the hi-hat loop can get a song started, and then you can go and replace it later if you want. The downside is the cost. It's $99, and I think that is too much. You get a lot of content with it. It's very simple to use. It's a great interface, all that. But I think the cost is tough to justify, given that there's so many other options out there for drum sounds. Another downside is that it has to run inside of the full version of KONTAKT. So unless you plan on buying this and then taking the KONTAKT source files and building your own interface for it, that's a big downside because KONTAKT at its lowest price is like $120 US, but is generally $400. So, that's a pretty big downside. I recommend it, but I think it is very costly. That's definitely its biggest downside for me. There's not thousands of sounds in here. It's not a virtual instrument by itself. It's just something that runs inside of KONTAKT. But I do like the sounds, and I did come up with 5 different songs pretty quickly using it. So it's one of those things that can make your life simpler by being very focused on creativity, but also there is a premium cost associated with it. Oh, I almost forgot. If you head over to their website, there's actually a way to get 20 free samples from this pack. So at the very least, please check out their website, grab that free download. Then you can see if these sorts of sounds work for your productions. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to AVA Music Group for letting me try out this new KONTAKT instrument. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Support the Reaper blog through Patreon. And visit reaperblog.net for a lot more tutorials.